that Rav Kook spoke about, that the most healthy, a sign of a healthy soul and a healthy body is tshuva. Meaning, if a person has basic spiritual health, before he gets to even like keeping mitzvot or anything, just basic spiritual health on a soul level, right? On a psychological level, emotional level, and physical health, so then it's guaranteed that he's going to come to tshuva in the end, right? There could be other things blocking, right? It might not be full health in all those categories, but if a person would be fully healthy in those categories, that's what we said. Meaning that tshuva those things go together, right? And that's why a lot of times you find that in people who are really into health, one aspect of health, a lot of times it leads them to spirituality, right? Meaning deeper spirituality. Anyway, that's what we said last week, and now Rav Kook is going to go weiter in base. He says the following: Neged kol chelek shel ki'ur shemistalek. I remember the last time we were together was Rosh Hashanah. Right. That's great, with your father, right? Okay. Neged kol chelek shel ki'ur shemistalek minishmat adam al yedei haskamato apnimit shel Orot HaTeshuva. We're going to translate this sentence backwards, and then we can understand how Rav Kook says it. There's something called the haskama pnimit shel Orot HaTeshuva. According to the Rambam, the very, very basic definition of tshuva is that a person has to recognize he did something wrong, have regret, feel regret. Right? First thing is to recognize it. Second is to feel regret for what he did, remorse for what he did. The third thing is vidui, the vakesh slicha, I'm sorry, Ribbono Shel Olam. And the fourth thing is to makabel on himself, to accept upon himself. He's not going to go back to it in the future. He's going to try his hardest to set up his life in a way that he won't go back to it anymore. Right? But there's something that precedes all of that. Rav Kook alluded to it. This is already his third time in the Sefer alluding to it. It's called haskama el tshuva, the agreement with tshuva. What does that mean? That in my heart I want tshuva. I agree with the concept of it. I agree with the world of tshuva, with this system of self-betterment, of self-improvement, of self-elevation. I give myself over to that. That's what I want, right? And I always tell guys, put this one in your pocket for those that are going to be seeking wives. Bezat Hashem b'shah tova. I always tell people that you always want to seek someone that's one of their most motivating drives in their life is personal growth. They're always growth. They're not a person who is satisfied with where they are. That doesn't mean not to be happy with where you are, but it's not enough. I always want more. Always seeking more. Right? That's called a haskama pnimit, an inner haskama. Maybe you guys can think of a better word. I give myself over. I align myself. I attune myself to it. I agree with it. Right? Before you even start to do tshuva, in other words, you're sitting in your chair, and you're just like, wow. I really want that. Right? So the Rav Kook says right away, negative things start to fall off of you. Right? They just start to fall away. And so he says, and the things that fall away, so Rav Kook says, neged kol chelek ki'ur, in parallel to each part of ki'ur means something that's like disgusting or something that's filthy, something that's, right? Wow. Right. So it's ugly. Something that's ugly. Mistalek minishmat adam. That meaning when we're not engaged in tshuva, we're not living a life of tshuva, and that doesn't mean we're doing video all day. You guys understand? We're not living a life of improvement, of betterment. We're just in the same place. So then what happens is all kinds of gook gets stuck to us. All kinds of goop, all kinds of dirty stuff. Right? Other people's thoughts, other people's ideas, other people's lifestyles, right? Hergelim, habits that are not so good. It doesn't mean dafka something that's totally impure and evil. But Rav Kook is calling it something ugly. It's not totally pure, right? So all that stuff gets stuck to us. We talked about this PSets in the Rabbi. I'll just bring the PSets in the Rabbi. That one of my favorite metaphors that he brings. He says that inside of our souls we have really beautiful midot. Every single one of us. We have beautiful midot. So how is it that sometimes we live our lives, an entire lifetime, and we never express those beautiful midot? He says it's like pure, crystal clear water in a dirty cup. A dirty glass. If you look at it from the outside, so it looks like the water is dirty, but the water is actually pure. It's just covered up with something that makes it look dirty. So too, our job when we're fixing our midot and we're elevating ourselves is not to attain something that's outside of us, to attain something that's higher than us, right? It's not really connected to us. It's really just to reveal what's already inside of us, but there's something covering it up, right? Another analogy I like to use is like a light bulb that's covered in mud, right? You can turn it on and it can have how many watts and how many volts or whatever. You're not going to see anything as long as the mud is still there, right? So just by agreeing to tshuva, agreeing to that lifestyle, that idea, already parts of that dirt, of that mud start to peel away and fall off of you. And what happens in place of those pieces that fall off you? Neged kol zeh, mitgalim olamot meleim bebeirutam ha'elyona bekerev nishmato. So all of a sudden, worlds, at least in these words that the Rav Kook says, entire worlds are revealed inside of him. In their exalted clarity. Bekerev nishmato, inside of his soul. Right? You guys get it? It's like your soul is shining. So why is it so dark in here? Because it's covered up. Right? And even before you go through the full-fledged process of tshuva, like Rambam says, or any other levels of tshuva like we've discussed, or that we will discuss, even just the very beginning piece of like, you know what, I want this. I'm giving myself over to this. Right? So already, certain negative things fall away, and this beautiful shine of your soul starts to be revealed inside of you again. Right? And that's what they call it, like a Jerusalem syndrome. You guys have heard of Jerusalem syndrome. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't know how they explain it, but the way I explain it, and the way I think the Rav Kook would explain it is that just coming a little bit closer to the light of the fire of your soul, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so certain things become revealed. The person doesn't have kelim for that. He doesn't have the vessels to contain that light. He's not ready for that. All of a sudden, it comes in a big blast, right? But it's real. What he's experiencing is very real. I mean, I'm not talking about certain extreme cases, but in general, right? Worlds become revealed inside of you. Parts of your soul that you weren't even aware of, right? You weren't even aware of. The story last week, the story of Yosef. Yosef reveals himself to the brothers. Midrash says, Parcha nishmatan, that their souls left their bodies. They couldn't contain it. Chazal say that episode of Yosef revealing himself to his brothers is exactly how it's going to be in the future when Hashem reveals himself to us. Right? Meaning, Hashem's going to say, Ani Hashem. It's me. Hey guys, I'm going to peel back the the midrashim about the story with Yosef and the brothers are wild. That the discussion was so intense and it looked like it was about to become a war, and then all of a sudden Yosef says something like I can't remember exactly, something like, and would you fight to save your brother just like the brother that you sold, like just like Yosef that you sold for a little bit of money to the Egyptians, to the Midian? And they're like, and how did he know that? Because he'd never spoken about that before. And he says, and I'm the one that bought him. Should I bring him out here? And then now they're feeling pretty. I don't even know if it's describable. And so he starts saying, Yosef, come see your brothers. And so it says in the Midrash, they start looking around to all the different corners of the room. Which door is he going to come out of? And then he says to them, he says, where are you looking? Ani Yosef. I'm Yosef. Right? And another Midrash says they fell dead at that moment. They couldn't contain what that meant, right? They couldn't contain not just because Yosef's light was so great. You understand? It was because they realized now, lemafreya, retroactively, they realized that we've always been dealing with Yosef, and we never knew it was him. We didn't know that was who we were talking to, right? So Chazal say that's what's going to be in the future. Rabbi Shalom is going to say, "Hey, Chevra, it's me, Ani Hashem. What are you talking about? That was you back then, and the war in Gaza. That was you. All the different moments of my life. We're not going to be able to contain it. The level of revelation is so big, right? Worlds become revealed inside, right? Just when we give ourselves over to the reality. So in that story, HaKadosh Baruch Hu In the future, Hashem's going to peel open the reality for us, right? But when we give ourselves over to the reality now, in the hidden world of tshuva, automatically things shift inside of us. It's unbelievable. Back inside. Kol havarat chet. Domel hasarat deva hachotzetz mi'al ha'ayin haroah. The removal of every sin, every negative thing in our life, is similar, could be likened to the removal of something that's blocking our eye from seeing. Ve'ofek riyah shalem mitgaleh. Now a complete horizon is revealed. Or mechaveh shamayim v'aretz v'chol asher behem. The light that is the extent, the breadth of heavens and earth and everything that's in them. Right? It's an allusion, I think, to there's a famous teaching from Rabbi Nachman that says that that if you stand in front of a mountain but you hold a coin in front of your eyes, you can't see the mountain. Right? Because if the coin is really close to your eyes, you can't see the mountain. Right? So Rabbi Nachman is saying lots of things by that. Why a mountain? Why a coin? Right? But the point is that sometimes you can be in front of something great and really not see it. Right? You know, if someone is taking a picture with the camera and their fingers blocking the what do you call it, the lens, right? So you can't see. Imagine if your whole lens is blocked. All you see is black. Your whole life, your whole screen is black. So too in your soul, in your own life. If you're seeing black, if you're not seeing expansiveness, if you're not seeing the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world, if you're not seeing the expansiveness of your own soul, the expansiveness of all the souls around you, the other people that are around you, if it looks black, if it looks dark, if it looks shallow, it's because something's blocking it. It's not because that's the reality.
Zoom, you change the zoom with the contrast. You
gotta right. So we have the fanciest camera, and we have the most beautiful view, but sometimes we can't see it because there's something blocking it. Right? Depression, in a certain sense, is when a person becomes convinced that it's not that there's something blocking it and there's something to be seen. It's just because that's just what it is. The world is just a dark place, right? And there's nothing I can do about that.
The two zoomed in, then you just zoom out. Look at the
Right. So Rav Kook says that each time that a person cleans up one thing in their life, one relationship, one moment, one interaction that didn't go so well, right? You clean it up. One place where you are not 100%, right? Even if it's a small thing, a very, very small thing, but for each place that it gets cleaned up, it opens up a new point of your view, a new ability to see the expansiveness, right? And you're able to see the view that meaning Rav Kook is saying here that just like we were saying before, from the Piyasetzim Rabbi, our nature is to see greatness. Right? Adam Arishon, our Alta Zayde. Adam Arishon, when he was created, the angels got really confused. You guys know about that, right? The angels were all confused. Well, who's God here? They started singing to Adam Harishon. Meaning the greatness of man, right? Even though we can't compare ourselves to Adam Harishon, but the greatness of man as it was intended to be and as it is in potential is such that the angels have a hard time discerning between man and God. That's how, right? We can't understand. We can't understand. When we hear stories of great tzaddikim, stories in the Gemara, stories in the Midrash, stories in the Tanakh, stories that are passed down, even tzaddikim in recent times, right? That people witnessed, right? I just saw on Shabbos a Sefer called Moav Shamash. Moav Shamash was the great grandfather of the Piyasetzim Rabbi, who he's named after. He was a student of the Noam Elimelech, and he said I with my own eyes. He saw tzaddikim who went into a state of such connection with God that they started saying Torah. They started sharing Torah. They were saying secrets of Torah, and they were saying unbelievable things, and they looked like they weren't even there. They were almost like in a trance. And afterwards, they didn't have any recollection of what they had said. Right? How can it be that person? Almost like a prophetic state, right? This is 200 years ago. 200 years ago, we had tzaddikim. Even in our generation, we have tzaddikim, right? Stories of Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, the Baba Sali, the Baba Rebbe, out of this universe. These stories, right? The nature of man is supposed to be like that. If there's stuff that's blocking it, that's covering it up, right? We have to realize that when we open it up, so then we come back to our nature. Okay. Okay, weiter. Yeah, questions, comments, complaints? We'll go weiter. Here we go, Gimel. העולם מוכרח הוא לבוא לידי תשובה שלמה. The world has to come to complete tshuva. And the truth is, we have a promise. We have a rule in prophecy that if a prophet gives a positive prophecy, meaning a prophecy that something positive is going to happen, so then it has to happen. But if it's a negative prophecy, it said something negative will happen, so it doesn't have to happen. Why so? Tshuva. We can do tshuva and we can change it, right? So this is a tradition that we have. The Rambam brings in halacha that if Hashem sends a prophecy of something positive He's going to bring into the world, it doesn't right? We even say that in the bracha after the haftarah when we read from the novel. The devar achad midvar lo yashuv lekam. Right? Not even one word of Hashem's prophecy that He sent to us is going to come back empty-handed. It's always going to come through the good, but the negative, no. We have a promise that the world's going to come to tshuva. Right? It says it in the Torah. It says it in the Navi, hundreds of places. Right? But Rav Kook says like this. He says not just from a place of a promise, but from the actual nature of the world. The nature of the world is such that it has to come to tshuva. העולם מוכרח הוא לבוא לידי תשובה שלמה, to complete tshuva. אין העולם דבר עומד המצב אחד. The world is not a static place. It's not a still place, right? Rav Kook is talking about spiritually, but even on a physical level, right? Why do they say inside? I'm asking a question. If anybody knows the answer, is there a reason in science why they say that the Earth is always rotating? I don't know.
That's a question.
Huh?
Well, that's how we have days and nights. And nothing. We need to sleep. Also, there's some mechanism that we need to sleep. And everything. If the sun was just on one part of the planet, it would dry up and everything would burn, and nothing would. There has to be like a hot and cold.
Right, so it's built into the beautiful system, but is there? Do we know what the mechanism that's making it turn? Yeah.
I think it's the magnetic fields of the sun and the earth, like rotating.
The world rotates on the axis. There's like a giant pole that goes to the earth, so it turns on it.
Yeah.
Right. Because what I know is that if it's a big body like sun, it attracts the other planets.
That makes the planet revolve around the
right,
sun.
it's the magnetic.
But
it's like you take a magnet.
The earth had also its own magnetic
it's on
field.
its own axis.
So like
And
combine with that
the
for
forces
probably
of
something.
And then you learn
Between all these guys, we can put together a course in astrophysics where.
And then you got this idea that the Jupiter, one of the largest planets, so big, and it's pulling the Earth towards him too. So it's like balancing Earth to stay at the correct position, so it doesn't go towards the sun.
How do you
or
create a
towards the
magnetic
Jupiter.
field? Can man create its own magnetic force field?
No, it's by mass. The
Right.
force field is by the mass.
Right.
I'm saying,
So we are right.
magnetic power.
We all agree that I think that we all agree in this room that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who created all this beauty and the magnitude of how it all works together and interplays and everything works together in order for the perfection of making the world and just the right conditions, etc. Right? But it's an amazing thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't have to do it like that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything this is a cloud that we learn. It's passed down in Kabbalah and the Kabbalistic Sefer talks about this a lot. That Hashem wasn't mukhrach. It wasn't necessary for Hashem to create the world in the way that it was created. So it's true that when we're looking at now, we had some beautiful things that were said here, that if it wouldn't be rotating, so then, right, one side there would be no day, there would be no night, there would be no sleep, there would be no, right? It's all built perfectly, but it didn't have to be like that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have made it like, like we're all in, like in Antarctica, I don't know. It could have been daylight all the time. It could have been night all the time. It could have been not, right? But Hashem did create the world with all these mechanisms, and Hashem created a world that we see there's no rest in the world, right? One of the things I love to see is when they have, what do they call it, when they speed up a video and they show the earth, and you can see the clouds and the movement of the earth it's brilliant to see. It's amazing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is moving everything, right? Or like if they just put a camera in the forest floor. Time lapse, right? And time lapse, and like you see how much happens in like 15 days, all the forest floor. Not a human being went through there, and like look how much a world of change is happening in our own lives, at moment to moment. I think about how sensitive we are if we get hungry, right? They call it hangry, right? You get angry when you're hungry, right? So but you just ate a really good meal like 3 hours ago or whenever it was, and now it feels like, oh my, the feeling that you have is I'm going to die if I don't get something quick, right? But there's so much change all the time, night, day, seasons, right? The earth, everything, right? All that is again, not saying why dafka like that, but the fact that Hashem made the world is constantly in motion, constantly in change, is a perpetual message to us. The world is not a static place. Just like it's physically not a static place, it's also not a static place spiritually. And so whereas we love, and Rav Kook is going to talk about this in the next piece, that we want the comfort and the bitachon to know that like the world, like as things were last year, they're also going to be this year, because now I can be comfortable. I know it's going to happen, right? Gentlemen, I'm not so old. The amount of change that has happened in this country, in Eretz Yisrael, in the last 20 years is it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. There's parts of Israel that are unrecognizable from what they were. There's aspects of society which are
I've been here 48
years. Yeah, right. Kol sheken v'kol sheken. Is this water for me? This or it's yours? Mm-mm. Okay. I'm assuming someone brought this for me. Okay, much appreciated. Things change all the time, and our lives change all the time, right? Hashem made it that our bodies change all the time, right? When you look at your children, yesterday my wife was washing dishes in the fleishig sink, and my daughter, 17, was washing dishes in the milchig sink, and they're standing together. My wife's pregnant. She's like in her 9th month right now. She, big round belly. And I'm looking, and she was like standing sideways. And I'm looking, I was like, gosh. And the 17-year-old daughter, who's almost as tall as her now, like she came from there. She was in that same belly. Like it was like yesterday. Things change, gentlemen. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling us in all those changes, He doesn't want us to feel like, oh no, what's happening to my world? Right? The earth underneath my feet is slipping away, and I don't feel like I don't have comfortability, right? Hashem is saying, just like the world is changing, you also need to change. You also need to be growing. You also need to be progressing, right? It's an amazing thing if we embrace it. If we fight against it, gentlemen, it's a losing battle. There's no way. They're trying to do it. They have the anti-aging stuff, and they try to live forever. People in the wellness world, there's guys that say, I'm going to live to be 180. But tzloch, I don't know. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said differently, but why is it? What's that coming from? There's also a change called from this world to the next world, right? We have to be open to change. And as I'm speaking, I feel like it's like therapeutic just to speak about this, right? To help let ourselves embrace it. Okay. The world is not something that is static, that stands in one situation, one matzav, one state. It is something that is constantly developing. וההתפתחות האמיתית השלמה מוכרחת היא להביא לו את הבריאות הגמורה. And true development, true progress has to bring along with it, and eventually health. Eventually, it's health, right? It's like at the end of the First World War, they were like, okay, people, we just killed like tens of millions of each other. Like, let's not do this again, right? Let's make right. So I don't know if before that there was like even a thought like, let's stop doing this. Let's stop having war. Usually it was like, well, we won, and now we're taking your stuff and your land, right? And but that didn't really work. So after the Second World War, they said, okay, and this time we really mean it. Really, we killed so many people here. Let's not do this anymore, right? That I don't know that it's on some level maybe, but the point is that was some kind of progress that was even a notion, right? Meaning even when it seems like we're going backwards so much, and a lot of times that the progress has to come to a place of health. Sometimes the Ramchal says that the nature of extremes is that it's kind of like an addiction. Is that when you have a little bit, you need more to get the same fix, and you need more, and you need more, and then you get all the way to the edge, the end of the spectrum, and then it kills itself, and then ends up sending it back the other way. So if we're wise, we won't just go all the way back to the extremes on the pendulum, right? But we'll try to stay in the middle where it's health. But then what the point is that eventually even extremes by nature balance themselves out. So too the world has to come to health, even if it's through very, very painful means, right? Not just complete health on a physical level, but also on a spiritual level. And that will bring the light of tshuva with it. I mean, they go together. Just like we said before, that if the nature of a person, if he has physical health, a basic spiritual health, that he will come to tshuva because they just go together, right? So it's the same thing. It's kind of like love and kindness, right? If you have love, so that's going to bring kindness. You can't have love and not be kind with each other, right? I mean, not forever. Eventually, it burns up all the love that's there. And if you have kindness, eventually it's going to bring love, right? If two people that are really kind to each other all the time, eventually they're going to develop a love for each other, right? So too, health and tshuva go together, right? Okay, weiter. We still have time. We're doing great. Darling, Rav Kook says, Ruach HaTeshuva merachef ba'olam, v'hu noten lo et ikar tzivyono. This is very connected to what he just said before. So the spirit of tshuva is always hovering in the world, right? We don't let a week go by without mentioning the Baal Shem Tov that says that Hashem's calling out from Mount Sinai to every one of us to the tshuva, and that's the hirhurei tshuva. That's the thoughts of the thoughts and the first notions of tshuva that we have in our mind, the inclination to be better, to want to do good. All that comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu calling out to us, right? So this is another way that Rav Kook puts it, is that tshuva is always hovering in the world. And it's interesting that Dafka uses the word hovering. Here, yeah. In another place, in Orot Torah, I have a note here that it says, that Rav Kook, he describes a little bit more what he means when he says hovering. We sense the spirit of Hashem, the exalted Hashem, hovering upon us. Nogat ve'ina nogat. It's touching us, but it's not touching us, right? Meaning, hovering is like, I'm here, but I'm here, but there's still space, right? If I grab you, you don't have any doubt that I just touched you. But if I'm hovering you and I'm just very softly, hovering on top of you, so you sense me there, but you could also, if you close your eyes and close your ears hard enough, you could forget that I'm there, right? So Kadosh Baruch Hu does that. He doesn't force us to do tshuva, right? You guys know the teaching in the Gemara says that the redemption which is dependent on tshuva for the most part, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that Be'ita achishena, and in its time I will speed it up. That's what the Navi says. That doesn't make any sense. Either it's in its time, or you're going to speed it up and you're going to bring it before its time. Which one? So the Gemara says that if we merit it, if we do tshuva, so then it'll come before its time. That brings it more quickly. And if we don't, so then it'll come in its time. Hashem's going to bring it no matter what. Right? Hashem's not forcing us to do tshuva. He's not forcing us to perfect ourselves and to bring Mashiach right this second. Right? As the Lubavitch Rebbe explained, that every moment that there's not Mashiach, there's not redemption, it's impossible for us to understand how much pain that causes. Also in the world, and also Shechina, but the point is, Hashem, even with all that, Hashem doesn't force us to. He keeps himself there, right there, but not in a way that you can't deny it. You can deny it, right? So, but nevertheless, even though it's this kind of hovering, it still gives, says Rav Kook, unoten lo et ikat tzivyon, gives the world the how would you say tzivyon? It's character, the form of the world, the sense of what this world is about, of what's going on in the world, right? You can read the news and there's all kinds of narratives. What's happening in the world? You can listen to politicians, you can listen to people that have movements and people that are excited about one particular thing, right? But there's a spirit, there's a sense that each one of us can tap into very, very easily, actually, by just recognizing what's the character of this world, what's the form, and that's tshuva, that's progress, it's something higher, right? For someone everybody's seeking something higher. Everybody's seeking something better, whatever it is. Some people, it's about taking advantage of everybody else. If we just kill them and take all their money, so then it'll be good for us, right? Some people it's more utopian. Some people it's more political. Some people it's more economic, right? Right? Like the rest of the world wants to think that this whole issue with the Palestinians is that they just want to feel autonomy, and if we give them enough financial, economic, benefits, so then they'll finally be happy, right?
Indoor toilets.
If it doesn't have anything to do with that, huh?
Indoor toilets. That's what we want on it.
Right. Whatever it is, but it doesn't work like that. And why doesn't it work like that? Or why does it work like that is not the important point. The important point is, why do they think that it works like that?
They want to think that way.
Why do they want to think that way? They really believe it. I think they're sincere. If we give them universities, if we give them free electricity, give them, right?
They will destroy to see how good is it.
Huh?
I think it's also guilt. Our neighbors are very good at playing the victim and making stronger, richer countries feel guilty. This is the complex.
So you say right. You say right. That's right. It's not fair. We're sitting here with nice air conditioning systems, and they don't have windows on their houses, right? But I think it's a theory, because their narrative of life is, if we have economic prosperity, so then everything's gewaldic. So therefore, if I let them have economic prosperity, so for sure it's going to be great. I'll tell you another version of that. Anybody hear of the Crusades? That's another version. Well, we think, Christianity is so great, so let's just go give it to everybody else. And even if they don't want it, it's just because they don't really understand. Let me give it to them. Islam, same thing, right? Right? I mean, that's maybe one is by force and one is trying to do it by heskem. You got to understand, I've got a narrative of what's the pshat over here, what the world is about, what really makes man fulfilled and happy and complete in the world, and if I can bring it to the rest of the world, right? But it's underneath that, something that's pushing and that's driving, and this is what Rav Kook is saying, I believe, is why is everybody taking one narrative and running with it? What's pushing everybody? Can't you just just relax? Just relax.
Well, you want to do something. You want to better the world, and in one way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the point. Why? Because the Kodesh Baruch Hu is right there hovering, pushing the world towards its
Like
shlemus.
if you're a communist, you think the world will be better through this economic system, and
Right? It's amazing how everybody pushes their narrative, whatever they believe, and I don't criticize it. I get
it's
it.
understandable to some point. Huh?
It's absolutely understandable. Forcefully doing it is not really so cool, but and usually it fails. I mean, up until now at least. But but the point that Rav Kook is saying is like, understand the process that's driving all this, and that process, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is right here saying, Chevra, weiter, we got to push this thing along. We're going to somewhere great. Rambam says, why did Christianity and Islam take over so much of the world? I have to say, it's pretty. If I come and I tell you, hey, Chevra, I just had this amazing revelation. Everybody do this, and we're all saved. We're all good. Like, you may believe me, you may not believe me. Like, billions of people believe. Whatever it is. Like, how did that happen? It's not such a convincing narrative, I have to say. It's not so convincing. Either one of those is not so convincing.
You can slaughter a village if they don't want it.
You need to be strong in
right. A lot of right.
Strong in the mind.
So okay,
David was stronger in the mind. That's why he had the sling. Everybody was thinking like, oh, you can be strong with just a sword. But David was stronger with this.
He says you didn't have to force it physically. You said. Right, but a lot of people just accepted it. Even there's some people got it with the sword, but a lot of people accepted it. Rambam says because before that, the world, what did they do? They served idols, right? That's less convincing, right? In a certain sense, it's more convincing actually. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is trying to bring the world together. So this kind of like plowed the field of the world and got it ready for a recognition of the one God. Right? And it's one step forward. Oh man, did we suffer from that, from what those two religions brought to us, and a lot of people did, right? Still are. But it's a step forward to monotheism. It's a step forward to understanding God, right? And all that's driving it is this. That's the tzivyon. That's why we can't rest. Nobody in the world can rest and just right. They're always trying to do more. Right? It's never enough. Whether it's financial, whether it's spiritual, whether it's taking over, it doesn't matter. And the pushing of that push for its development. And the reach b'samav is the incense, the good smells that come from it, so to speak, which is just a word that Chazal use. It softens the world, makes the world a little bit more gentle, step by step. And it gives the world all of its beauty and its splendor. It says this reach b'samav. It says that. Let's see if he has it over here. Yeah, it says in the Gemara. It says the kol dibur v'dibur sheyatzah mipi HaKadosh Baruch Hu nitmeleh kol ha'olam kulo b'samim. That when Hashem said the Ten Commandments, it says in the Gemara, it says this all the time in the Zohar also, that when Hashem said the Ten Commandments, for each word that came out, so the world became filled with incense, with beautiful smells, right? And so Rav Filber this says that smell is a very spiritual sense of ours, right? And it oh, I got the snov macha, right? He says, "Reach b'samim mesamel hashpa'a pnimit ameoreret lahagashat tova." That incense, the positive smells, b'samim, it symbolizes a spiritual, an inner type of influence that brings a good feeling, positive feeling, right? When you smell something good, it lifts you up, right? They tell. I was told that they tell Beis Yaakov girls that when they're preparing for marriage, your husband calls, he says he's coming home, and there's nothing for dinner, and you don't even have a plan. Just real quick, chop up an onion and start grilling the onion. Because then it fills the house with the good smell. He walks in the house, he's starving from after a full day. At least there's hope. He has hope that something good is coming, right? Right? We know when we have when there's a good smell. Right? It's amazing. It's very interesting, Dafka, that Chazal used this in lots of places to describe how the world was filled with bisamim, right? When good things happen, right? So too, Rav Kook says that the world gets filled with the bisamim of tshuva that Hashem is constantly pumping into the world. I was told that in I don't know if it's in China and Japan, that they use essential oils and they diffuse them in stores, in grocery stores and different stores to try to get people, because they learn which smells make people I don't know exactly what it is, to be hungrier or to buy more. They're using it. Classic human beings to
go to a shopping mall and like the same thing. Any shop, like to walk around in the shopping mall.
Right.
The same idea. Each clothing store has its own like smell that they spray around.
Right.
To attract customers and to associate the smell with the brand.
Right. Human beings have been using all different kinds of substances to make themselves smell, have different smells and bisamim, right? It's all to arouse something. So it's all to a Kadosh Baruch Hu is arousing, but it's a very subtle thing, right? Smell is it's. I mean, some people make it not so subtle, but right, but it's a subtle thing. It's a very gentle sense, right? It's also very interesting. It's not our subject, but just interesting. Dafka, a big place in halacha for when you're davening or saying Kriya Shema or learning, not to be around bad smelling things, right? And how you have to distance yourself 4 amot from where the smell ends, because right, which is pretty wild. You can't say words of Torah while you have a bad smell going in your nose. Why? I'm totally clean. I just came out of the mikveh. I'm spotless. It's just the smell. It's in my nose. No, because it touches something inside of us. The chush hareach touches something inside of us. Okay, Jim. Let's do one more piece. What do you guys say? Yeah. Okay. Hey. This is what we were talking about earlier. Hakshanut la'amod tamid b'de'a achat ולהתמך בה בחבלי החטאת שנעשו למנהג. The tremendous stubbornness that we have, that we want to always be b'de'a achat, to understand things in one way. We want to get a picture, we want to understand it, we want to get our worldview, get it right, cross our T's and dot our I's. Okay, I got everything under control. Now I understand how everything works. I know how to run my life. I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to be hanging in the air anymore. I don't have to be talush, dependent. I don't have to be flexible and learn something new, right? We want to, right? Just give me my hashkafa. Tell me what to do. Ulitamech ba, and to be stood up by that. It's a very interesting word that Rav Kook uses. Tomech means to support. We want to be supported. We want to feel steady, right? If I have an understanding of life, an understanding of world. I was just actually recently listening to a conversation with a pretty well-known mashpia here and there, named Joey Rosenfeld. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. Brilliant. He's a therapist and a very deep. He's a Torah scholar, and he was saying that the nature of trauma is that we are very eager to feel security and stability in our lives, and predictability in our lives. And when an event happens that breaks our notions of what was predictable and what's stable, right? But we also have the sense, Piasechet the Rebbe says that we also have the sense that we're going to live forever, and that and we're not prepared for it. Sometimes we always thought this person was going to be part of our life, and it's extremely painful. So it's always painful to lose somebody. But when does it become traumatic? Is when a person gets stuck in that. I refuse to let myself believe in life again because I'm nervous that I don't have anything that I can trust. I don't have any solid ground that I'm standing on, right? So there's a place that we need security. We want to feel secure. Right, and therefore we're very, very stubborn and and rigid in our thinking that we wanna know everything, right? This is what idol worship was. Also, Joe Rosenfeld was saying in this shiur. Idol worship was me in a certain sense very similar to in a certain sense, certain connected to comparable to science today. The tremendous it's the wish to the cure to every illness. I would like it. I'm not. We all want it, to know the answers to why it's like that, why everything is like it is, right? So idol worship was a form of trying to gain control. All right, through this force, right? A very early and primitive form of what the scientific world, in a certain sense, is trying to accomplish, right? Which is not Khalila to say, science is bad or idol worship. You guys understand what I'm saying, right? We want to have that sense of security, and therefore, says Wakuli, tamech ba bechevlei hachatat shenasu leminhag, in order and to be supported by these ropes, meaning a strong sense, secure system of chatat, of sin. But sin doesn't necessarily mean actually like one of the 613 mitzvot here, but something that's just not 100% right, not 100% on target. Shenasu leminhag, which become our habits, right? Our customs. Ben b'maasim, ben b'deot, whether it's in our actions, give me my 9 to 5, give me my, don't change anything in my system, in my world order, right? Or in my deot, or in my understanding of the world. So we're kind of built like this, right, gentlemen? We're kind of built like this, that we don't like to feel unstable, uncertain, right? But we also have to recognize what world we're living in, and we have to play along with that. We have to realize that it's not Hashem didn't put us in an unstable world in order for us to just be in danger all the time. So why did Hashem put us in an unstable world? What are you guys saying?
We have a reason to rely on Him.
Exactly. Hashem says, I don't want you relying on not your stocks, not your health, not your parents, not your wealth, not your guard dog, not your army, not anything. You're in this world, there's a dichotomy here, but I want you to be depending on just on me. All the time. While you're doing it. Right? I got a friend in the Kitat Kononut where I live, and he does guard duty, and he looks like, he's got this vest that's like, all kinds of stuff in there, and he's got his gun, and he's got 2 pairs of tefillin on. The whole time he's just walking around saying Tehillim, right? Anytime another soldier comes, they ask him, did you put on tefillin today? He's not a Chabadnik. Did you put on tefillin today? He said, no. He said, why do you have 2 pairs? He said, one for me, one for you. But some Sephardim, Beis Yosef says to wear 2. Anyway, back inside. It's not a problem that we have a tendency to want to feel safe. Of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave that to us. We're not just like blind and walking through dangerous areas and singing zippity doodah. We're built to have a sense of we need to be protected. But there's an extra stubbornness that we have, that we want to get rigid in order to almost like make believe, to put our head in the sand, to make believe that this is how the world is in order that I can feel safe and secure, right? Even if it gets me stuck in all kinds of actions which are not really progressing, which are not keeping me attuned and aligned with the teshuva and the movement and the progression of the world, right? It's keeping me stuck. I'm falling behind. So Rav Kook says, this is an illness, this stubbornness of ours, which comes from being really involved in deep and heavy slavery. Which doesn't allow the freedom of tshuva, that tshuva is trying to illuminate in our lives, to come in all of its power. Right? What's that slavery? What are we a slavery to? My own sense of well-being, my own sense of safety. It's also slavery, right? In Yiddish, we call someone who throws off the yoke of Torah free, right? Chofshi in Hebrew, right? When they sang in the HaTeshuva, liot am chofshi, right? They didn't mean free from other nations. They also meant that, but that was a very specific word that they used, which was to say that we're also free from the mitzvot, right? We don't want those shackles anymore, is what they said. Right? For us, it's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. Right? If I'm not a servant to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if I don't give myself over to that system, so what am I a servant to?
Nothing.
Myself. Myself, yeah. What drives me? So what would you ask people today? What's the main thing? What's the main thing? To be happy in life, right? Or to have well-being, or to be whatever they describe it, right? But that's a deep slavery. Who says? Who said? Now today, and even in the physical, in the wellness world, they know that they talk about cold dips, and dafka, taking yourself out of your comfort zone is good for longevity and good for brain health, right? All these different things, right? That don't stay in your comfort zone, right? So
ice cold mikvahs.
Ice cold mikvahs is gewalt. Our Rebbes were onto that years ago, right? The Katzker Rebbe said a hot mikvah makes a cold chassid. Right? Yeah, we like the cold mikvahs, right? So, but it's a deep slavery to just my own sense of feeling good and feeling safe and I'm okay. Who says that that's why you're in the world? Sometimes you have to take yourself out of your safety. Sometimes it's worth it to put yourself in a dangerous situation on a mental level, on a spiritual level, on a physical level, right? Why don't we just all move to America already? Or, I don't know, Singapore, I don't know. Why do we have to fight over this land, you know? There's other places we could go to. Hawaii, I don't know, Tahiti. Somebody would take us. No, I don't know.
Tahiti, so there are hurricanes there.
Right. There's no getting out of it. There's no getting out of it. Sometimes it's worth it, right? And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts you in, if he puts you in a situation where it's like that, I think he can tell you, the first mitzvah in the book is having children. You guys know that. It's the first one. That's not an easy one. If besides having children, my job is to like learn Torah and to daven and to give tzedakah and to make money, I can give tzedakah and all these things. So children are like the last thing on earth that are going to help me to do that. They wake me up in the middle of the night. I have to change their diapers. I have to provide. I have to worry about them.
It's supposed to inspire us.
Right? I'm saying to get to the HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to be challenged in that way. Right? Who says that just feeling good all the time is your purpose here? That's slavery. So, and that slavery keeps us blind and blocked from making ourselves open to the light of what he said. These words again, to the light of the freedom of that Teshuva provides. I'm not dependent on any situation. I'm not dependent on any physical place. Right? It's just me and the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? That's ultimate freedom. Right? Last sentence, and we'll close for the day. Ki HaTeshuva hi sho'efet lechofesh mekuri amiti, shu hachofesh ha'eloki, she'en imo shum avdut. Because Teshuva aspires, it pushes us towards true, original freedom, the godly freedom, which is the freedom of feeling that I'm stuck in this world with all its limitations and just have to make do out of this physical world. No, my freedom is that I'm connected to God. I'm above this world. I'm beyond this world while I'm actually in this world, right? Then there's no slavery, there's no servitude in that, right? So you say, what are you talking about? We call ourselves Avdei Hashem, servants of Hashem, right? Well, it doesn't mean it in the same sense that we talk about that we understand servitude in the rest of in all other contexts. All other contexts, servitude is I don't have a choice, and I have to do this in order to get what I need to get, right? Servitude of Hashem is a ticket to freedom, right? If you sign on to this, if you connect yourself to this, now you can start to fly. Now you can start to be beyond all the limitations that we're all trying to scramble and scrounge and fight each other for. You think about what I think about Europe. No offense for anybody that do it, but like all these countries in this little spot, and they're always fighting. Where's the border? The border of Poland. Does it really make a difference whose country, this field, right? We're fighting. We're scrounging. That's not really what it's about.
2 minutes to the buzzer.
So we finished. No, that's it. No, the Rav got here just in time.
Demand.
Yeah, there's a shit. Okay, gentlemen.